Alright guys, welcome back to another video and welcome back to the channel. So today, as you guys can tell from the title of the video, we are actually adding more coolant to the Z and bleeding the system. So since I did the oil gallery gaskets, I leaked out a good maybe half gallon of radiator fluid. So I went ahead and I went to, I think I got it from Target. It was like $8 for an entire gallon of new fluid. I'll show you guys what that is in a minute. For this car, I've always put the green one in there. That's just what I've known to go in there. A couple of quick tips before we get started. What you want to do is, not even quick tips. Basically, this is what you're going to do. Come over here to your car, pop the hood, which is right there. You can get your hood release right here, pop it up, get your hood prop from right there. Alrighty, so now we're looking at the bare engine. I haven't put the strut bar or the plastics back on. I don't know if I will, but I know the strut bar adds rigidity to the car or whatever. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and pop off this coolant cap. Be careful not to do this when the car is hot because you will burn yourself. And make sure you wear gloves. I'm gonna grab some right now. But you don't want to touch the radiator fluid. If you do, you want to clean your hands like immediately because it can corrode your hands, I believe is what happens, but it causes irritation. So the reason why we're doing this is because I changed the gallery gasket so it drained out all the fluid, and I also changed the water pump. So the thermostat housing, which is right down here, started leaking because the gasket didn't seal properly. So I removed it, I redid it, it's completely flawless now, so I just need to top up the coolant now. So we come over here, picked up some Peak 50/50 so I don't have to go ahead and add distilled water. I'm sure that it might be cheaper just to do the 50/50 or do the concentrated one and adding diluted or distilled water, because distilled water is only like $1 a gallon or something. But I don't know, I just feel like this is better. Yeah, that one you can probably use to last longer, but this is just what I've been using. So we're just going to go ahead and grab a funnel like this, which isn't huge, but that will sit on top of probably this one, but one that doesn't have too big of a hole so that it goes in here, but it doesn't seat all the way. Because if it goes all the way down into the hole, you guys can't see that very well, but if it goes all the way down, the fluid will just bypass the cone. So this would be the ideal size. So I'm gonna wash this, get some gloves out of the cabinet, and I'll be right back. All right, and just like that, we're back. I cleaned this up. You just use dishwater and soap, and I just use compressed air to blow out all the water. Obviously, if you got water in here, it's not a big deal, but if you were to clean like an oil filler one, then obviously you don't wanna get water in there. So, you wanna make sure that the car is cold. Car hasn't been started in 2 days, so it's completely cold. And you basically just want to fill up the fluid so that you can see it on the top of the funnel. The car will pull in some of it when you start it, but basically you want to start there. So I'm going to jump cut to when I have filled up the fluid in there before starting the car. All right, so as you guys can see, I filled it up. It only took about maybe 1/8 of a gallon. I took off the cone so you guys could see about what level you want it to be at. So now we're going to go ahead and get in the car. All right, so we are now in the car. I'm gonna go ahead and start the car. So you wanna make sure you're in a very well ventilated area because you will be turning on the car. So I went ahead and opened, you guys can't see, but I opened the garage door obviously because all the lights there. So let me just turn off the kill switch, start the car. Okay, I don't know if you guys caught that or if the camera caught it, but the fluid sloshed out of the cone. So what you want to do is you want to let the car heat up, you want to let it heat cycle basically, and you want to turn your heater all the way up. So you want to go to 90 and turn it all the way on the max, but obviously you don't need the AC on. I'm going to turn this off before it steals the connection. But yeah, you want to turn the heater all the way on. You might want to get out of the car because it's going to get kind of toasty, but you just want to make sure your temperature doesn't go over halfway. So just keep that in mind and you should be set. And you want to set this instead of auto, you want to put it to face only, because that gives it maximum power from what I understand at least. So now we're gonna head outside of the car, roll down the window a little bit, just so it's not a hot mess. And we're gonna check the coolant. You guys can probably barely hear me, but there's barely any coolant in there. Okay, so now with the flash on, you guys can see the coolant there isn't too much in there, so we're gonna keep adding more until it stops pulling more in. But you want to make sure not to drop any, because if it gets on the pulley, it'll slosh it everywhere and you won't know if you have a leak or not. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. And just make sure that there are no bubbles coming out of the fluid like it is right now. That means you have an air pocket inside of the radiator, the block somewhere. So you just want to make sure that there are no bubbles and just keep topping up on fluid as you need to. All right, so I added some fluid and you guys can see there's little bubbles here and there like it did right now. So either that means it's burping the system, so basically it's removing all of the air bubbles from the entire system. Now you don't want to get too close to this because the fluid can be hot and it can spurt out. So you just want to be careful of that. But yeah, just keep going or just let the car run until there aren't any bubbles and it stops pulling in coolant. Okay, so I know some people might ask why you turn the heater all the way up. I just turned it off momentarily so that you guys can hear me while I'm explaining. But from my understanding, you would turn it up all the way just so that the heater core, I don't know if this car has one, but most cars do, it would be to circulate the fluid through the heater core, which is what the radiator fluid runs through in order to keep the AC and all that stuff cool. At least that's my understanding. If that's not right, I apologize, but somebody in the comments could correct me. So now that the car is getting up to operating temperature, it's still bubbling here and there. Obviously you guys can't see it from here, but it's doing it off and on. So what we're gonna do is, instead of running the heater right now while the engine is still moderately cold, we're gonna wait for it to get to operating temperature, give it a couple minutes, so probably till about 6:30. This car normally takes about 3 to 5 minutes to warm up all the way, and then I'll blast the heater so that what the heater does is it pulls the hot air from your engine and it pushes it into the cabin. So you don't really want to be using the heater when the engine is cold, because it'll just keep pushing all the cold air that's in the engine. Or that's in the engine compartment, that is. So we're gonna wait, and then I will pick it up once the car's at operating temperature, the heater's on, and I can go ahead and take a look at the fluid in the cone. Because since it's not up to operating temperature, it hasn't opened the thermostat, so it's not bleeding the coolant out of the block yet. All right, so basically almost on 6:30 on the dot, the car is at operating temperature. So now we're gonna blast the heater, make sure the AC is off, and we're just gonna check the coolant, because the thermostat should have opened and let in new coolant into the radiator system. All right, so looking here, it looks pretty good. There's no bubbles or anything. You might want to check the floor too, just to make sure that there are no spills. I already checked. I can show you guys real quick. No spills aside from a very dirty garage floor. So I think for this car I'm done. However, you see how there's all this extra coolant. If I was to just go ahead and pick up the funnel, all of the fluid would just fall everywhere. So what you want to do is, you would want to take your car keys, basically. So let's come over here. Door handle stopped working, Z problems. All right, so we're gonna come over here, turn the heater off, because obviously we've bled all the coolant. And what you'll do is, so you guys take a look over there. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the car, but if you turn it off, it'll start sucking in all of the fluid that's left over, and hopefully it won't suck in any air. So we're gonna come back over here. And it didn't suck it in, but it was doing it last time because there wasn't enough fluid in the system. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and take a vacuum pump and go ahead and pump this fluid out and just put it in a container. Or you probably shouldn't dump it back in here because it will contaminate it. Or what you can do is, if you're not gonna use it, you just put a towel around it and just hope that all of it goes onto the towel and doesn't spill on the floor and all over the belts and everything. So yeah. So that's it for this short little video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I make content weekly, basically, for the Z and the other 12 cars that we have. I think the only content on the channel has been for this car specifically. Maybe next week I'll get to the Miata's rack and we'll fix that. Yesterday I did the Flex's, one of the brake calipers seized. So I replaced the entire braking system on that part of the car. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next video.